the fun facts and memories of Poppy portion, okay?
Okay.
So, I'm going to go ahead and start off with one of the questions, and then I'm just going to pass this down, and we'll see what happens next. Poppy, what's one of your top Seder moments?
One of my top theater.
Seder. Any Seder you ever had, what's one of the top moments you ever had?
Well, there's one which was very fine in that it was in my home in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, with both my parents present, as well as our children present. And it's memorable because we smile and laugh at it, because within Seder, Passover cooking, there's a distinction in matzo ball characteristics between those my mother made and those my mother-in-law made. Namely, mothers were good solid matzo balls. You could roll them on a table and play go bowling. But Helen's mother made soft things which almost decompose. And at a Passover in Harrisburg, because often on Thanksgiving weekend, we get a long weekend, we drive from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, stop off, stay with my parents, drive into Newark where Helen's parents live, spend a day or two to go to New York and then drive back. But we were having a Seder in my parents' home, and we ran out of matzo balls, and my mother insisted of making more matzo balls because she was sure the children wanted more, which wasn't necessarily the case, but in any case, she was a great-hearted, warm-hearted person. And she would make some matzo balls, which my kids weren't too fond of because they're afraid of breaking a tooth on them.
Or you could bounce them.
Or something. And so mother would bring in the matzo balls, they would go under the table to me. And my mother would say, gee, they went through them already. And so she'd have to make up some more.
Oh, no, not more.
But ultimately, it all came out, and mother never realized that there was such a distinction. Our kids were. But in any case, it was a funny thing. When we ever want a good laugh, my family would say, remember, and then would recall.
The hard matzo balls.
The hard matzo balls. Or the soft matzo balls, which had their deficiency as well.
The pure way matzo. All right. Well, thank you. All right. Yes. So, what about the second
Do you want to go up there,
question?
Sandy?
All right, I'll go up there. All right, and these are good questions you have.
Or you can make your own.
Oh, this is good. So here's a good question for you, Dad.
Yes.
What 2 pieces of advice would you like to give to your grandchildren?
Wow.
Whoa. You got 5 minutes and the clock is ticking.
One thing is, if you're faced with a problem or trying to accomplish something, give it the best that you can, and and don't blame anybody else. But if you do the best you can and it doesn't succeed or isn't successful, you have no one else to blame. But you don't have to blame anybody. You would claim, I did my best. There's nothing better I can do. I've done my best. And if you've done your best,
So, do your best is one, and the second one is not to blame anybody.
but no,
Take full accountability.
if you've done the best you can, there's nothing more that can be done. And sometimes you get a problem. Should I go this way or should I go that way? On a difficult decision. Should we leave Pittsburgh to California? And to some extent within our family, it was never fully resolved. But we all think we did the best thing, but Mother always felt it was, or Helen always felt that it was a difficult time to move. But in any case, that's what we decided. And it turned out to have been a very good move, I think.
Absolutely.
But in any case, if you do your best, that's it. And be sure you do your best. And that's the advice I can give.
Okay.
Roy, be-
All right.
Indeed. So,
Wisdom.
Anybody else want to?
who wants to go to the next? So, yeah, who wants to be the next one?
Ken?
Oh, we'll do the kids first.
Yeah, do the
and
kids
then
first, and then the grandkids after. I wrote 15 questions.
These are some suggestions.
16 suggestions, I think.
How many people? Yeah.
Hi, Dad.
That's in the hot seat.
I see. I've been meaning to ask this question.
So, when I think of the men in my life, I admire you the best, more than anybody in my life there. And I'm wondering, because you don't talk a lot about your emotions that much, and I'm wondering when you think back on all your experiences and interactions, what's one or two experiences that really deeply moved you emotionally, that really touched you in some deep way that you would like to share with us?
One of them I can tell you, and I was reminded of the phraseology when I was with Makita, because she was looking over some of the folders on the table by the fireplace. And in there was a session, I guess she's not here, which was called Lamentations. And Lamentations was, and I might not get through this. Lamentations was Sad Happenings, which I wrote immediately after Helen died. I just sat there and wrote it out. And the last paragraph says like this. Each morning when I get up, I look at Helen, I say, Helen, you look so pretty today. And I'd love to be able to say that every day for the rest of my life.
Love you, Dad.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ken. Thanks a lot, buddy. All right, cool. Well, all right. Who wants to follow up that? Jerry? Can I get anybody tissues?
So, I'm just curious, those of us raising children, some of us already have children who are adults, but some in your 9 grandchildren generation, they'll soon be parents, some of them.
Yeah.
And if they do become parents, I'm curious, any suggestions, your advice, what would make them really especially good parents? What do you think are some gems or useful approaches to parenting?
That's a good question. One of the regrets I have as a father, that because of a number of reasons, going to school at night, working hard, or off for hours, to spend as much time as you can with your offspring, because from the parent's point of view, you only have one chance, and it doesn't last forever. And so one of the joys of parenting is doing things and having fun with your kids, and it's beneficial both ways. And as I said, doing my second bar mitzvah speech, one of my regrets was that I didn't have as much time to spend with my children as I could, so I urge you not to have that failing. And the other thing I think is to converse, talk things over with the kids. Why we're going to go here today? Any special reasons, Dad? Well, I think we ought to do this. Last time we were here, this, that, and the other thing, and to explain some of the things we're doing. And also, of course, teach the honesty of why things should be done, why everybody has to be honest for everybody to get along, and if it's not, we have criminals, but we want you to follow this narrow path of having integrity, respecting other people and their property, doing what you think is best in any situation. And if in doubt, don't hesitate to ask your mother or me what they feel would be well. And I think there's a poem or somebody wrote something to the effect that I thought my dad wasn't such a smart person, my mother wasn't either. But then as I grew older and became aware of what they faced and what they accomplished, I concluded, hey, they were pretty smart. And I can learn from them. And that brings into it, don't hesitate. When you do have a problem, bring it to a parent and ask for their advice, because they may have had a similar interaction and taken path A, which didn't work out, so they could suggest that you avoid going path A, because it probably wouldn't work out for you either. And so you can pass on some experiences which might be of value to them and make their lives a little easier or better or more rewarding.
Right. Political question.
No, not a quick question. So you had a long marriage with Mom,
Yeah.
and there was ups and downs, and now many of your kids are in marriages and with significant others, and grandchildren are having significant others they're loving. What advice do you have to make a very successful romantic relationship and last for so many years?
One of the goals of married life, as we thought it, don't go to bed in the middle of an argument. Always resolve an argument or dispute before you go to bed, because it can fester as you mull it over. But if you resolve it, then it'll be easier to go to sleep, and you'll have a free mind and not be trying to think, what can I do to make her feel bad or show my superiority. But don't go to sleep without resolving any difference. And of course, resolve within a household. Don't expect the woman to do all the work. If the woman does the cooking, okay, then you do your share. And because Helen loved to cook, fine. I was pleased to reinforce her longing to be a good cook, which she was. But then when it came to a lot of other things, those were my job. And generally, couples do split one way or another, often with cooking and then home repair and a lot. Sometimes finances too go to the man, which isn't always the best thing, especially as I read about more cases. As a generality, women outlive men, and often they become a sole proprietor of the family wealth, such as it may be. They're at a loss to handle it, and so it's good to have mutual sharing of the family's finances, and to get together if you want to buy this share of stock or that company, or if you want to invest with this man, or whatever you want to do, but have both parties aware of it, so that if there were a death of one of the pair, the other is not at a loss, but is in a position to carry on as they had been doing in the past, even without the mate who is supplying his or her opinion to verify their ideas. So split the work and split the responsibilities.
And always say yes. Usually works pretty good. All right, so the grandkids, I have questions. Do you guys want to go up and sit over there, or do you want me to pass them around?
Everybody has to go this way.
Well, you guys heard her. Who wants to? You want to?
I got one for you, but I'm just gonna stay over here.
That's
so
fine.
it's easier.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Poppy, will you tell us an anecdote from your travels to one of the places that you love to travel and what happened there?
I'll have to think about that, because we've done a lot of traveling and had many good times, and I'm trying to think of something that. Well, one of the funny things which some years ago, Helen and I were in Kathmandu, and a funny thing I remember is that you go in a pedicab, like they have in Thailand, like they have in China, and the person drives you. And along the line, there was some road work being done, and the pedicab got stuck. And so, of course, first thing, Helen and I get out and start pushing. And the people all around the side were staring and laughing at us, and they thought it was so funny that we were pushing the pedicab until we got to solid soil, so that we could get in and the man could pedal away and get us to where we were going. That was kind of a funny thing. And one other somewhat interesting thing, while we were staying at a hotel in Kathmandu, and at the time they were going to have people come out and do some of the local dances. And when they completed one of the dances, we clapped our hands, and the leader said, "Don't clap your hands. This is not a performance. These are religious dancers doing religious dances. And so they do it for their own spiritual guidance, and your presence is incidental." And it was kind of something that I remember being admonished to. we're sensitive to that.
Do any of the cousins have their own question, or do you want to use one of the questions we wrote out?
Yeah, I was thinking of. I just wanted to. I was wondering if like you thought there was certain ways that like the world has changed since you were a kid that you like appreciate that like you think you're like happy that like this happened or like that we could maybe take for granted now.
Well, there have been a multitude of changes, obviously. For instance, we have automatic transmissions. which were not available when I was a kid, and which gradually became first as an option, a costly option you could get. This is about the time of the war, around 43 or 4. And then now, of course, it's standard, and all the cars have automatic transmission. And it's similar with air conditioning. Just about all cars come with air conditioning. But initially, that was also a pricey option. And we used to smile because there were people, especially in the hot days, with the windows up as though they were air conditioned, but you could see they were sweating. And they wanted to demonstrate to cars passing that they had sufficient wealth.
Right, wow, sweating, losing weight. Roll that window down, man. That's funny.
But it is going for a stick shift to an automatic transmission, and now we're seeing driverless cars, which certainly within the next 10 years I can expect will be coming along, which should make the highway, I like to think, a lot safer. And I hope, and that obviously entertainment has changed because we never had television growing up. You would listen to the radio, and coming home from school, you want to be in the house about 5 o'clock because Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, would come on the radio. And also used to The Shadow, which was a radio program on Sunday night. We hear Jack Benny, both of whom were first-rate comedians. Well, and he had other comedians, Jack Benny, Fred Allen, Phil Baker. And that was entertainment. It was very pleasant because my mother went to often meetings on a Sunday night, and my brother and I would climb into the big bed that was Mother and Dad's. And the three of us, Dad, Ted, and I, would listen to some of these programs and laugh and get a lot of pleasure from them. Obviously, the other one I reject is the Polaroid camera. It's pretty well come and gone. And I always felt that when you're traveling and you see kids in a foreign country and they're laughing or smiling or doing something, you take their picture, and to give them a picture that they can take home and show their folks is a real nice thing for them. And they're pretty much down the tubes now, but that was a nice thing. Well, we have all the cameras for us, but not to give out, as far as I know, to the people who you would like to hand one to. Oh, the computer is just about going, certainly the desktop computer is probably going. During my early days at work, we had big computers which were in air-conditioned rooms. And they had, because they had nothing, loads and loads of vacuum tubes which had to be kept cool. And everything was by punch cards, which I never did, never understood. But there were people who, after you told them what you wanted, they would fix the cards and put it in the computer, and the next morning they would have the results. Those are changes. And telephone calls used to be rather pricey, and if you would travel from here to there, and the parents wanted to know whether you would arrive, you would call home on their phone, but you would make a person-to-person call and ask for Susie McDonald, or some person that your mother or dad would know that you had arrived at home, at your destination. So you wouldn't be charged with the person-to-person call, but the parents recognized that was a plan called, and yeah, you made it safely. We never had any of these cases like you see in what's the movie where there's a play, The Bells Are Ringing, where somebody listens to your, puts needles in and plugs in, and you get your person, and often overhears the conversations. And we never had any of that kind of. Lily Tomlin, I guess, was the one who popularized that as a fun thing. But yeah, there are lots of changes. And heating the house used to be coal-fired furnace. And I mean, when we moved into an apartment with 3 stories, the easiest thing I felt was to get our furnace lit by taking some hot coals from one of the other 2, which of course ultimately I never got ours started. And ultimately I took all the hot coals from the other 2 furnaces, and I was not very popular. I was not very popular for a while after, despite my apologies and forbearance and so on. Anyway.
All right, thank you, Poppy. Next, cousins. You have a question, or you want? Here, I'll pass it down. Was a hero, somebody you look up to?
Someone you admire.
Somebody you admire?
Oh.
You felt like was
When I was a kid and very close to baseball, my favorite player on the Cardinals was named Stan Musial. But that was him as a baseball player, and he was my favorite, and many fans' favorite. I'm trying to think of someone in an active scene. I guess I was an employee when Hyman Rickover, he was in a sense my top boss when we were working in the nuclear navy. But this little guy was able to get a lot of things done, taking a new idea of using nuclear power from destructive purposes to propelling ships. And he was able to convince congressmen to allocate X millions of dollars to have a couple of labs look to see whether this could be done. And he did get it done. And of course, that provided food for many of the Rubens for
Yes.
for a number of years, but he accomplished things, and people respected him, and he could testify in Congress, but he generally got what he wanted because we were all so successful, and that it made him look successful, and to this day we have a nuclear, well, not only for subs, but for aircraft carriers and battleships. The first one I worked on, we had 6 power reactors to get the big battleship, the Enterprise, moving. And now I know that 2 reactors will get the ship moving and provide enough electricity for the lighting and heating and cooking and so on. He was quite a guy.
Technology changed. He's one of the originators for that. Okay, thank you.
That was foresighted.
Mm-hmm. Good.
What are the most exciting moments in your life?
And what was it? What?
One of the most exciting moments that happened throughout your life.
Oh,
Big question.
I think probably the most exciting moment was kissing my bride at our wedding.
Good answer, Pop.
How do you ever?
Well, it took a couple of I do's by both parties.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. Then you may kiss your bride.
Oh! Nice. Hey, it's Karen, do you have one? A question? You have a Karen, question you want to ask Bobby?
We might want to open up if anybody else is not.
We just only have 9 minutes left.
6.
6 minutes. I want to get to that.
But while she's working on, I would say one of the wishes, it would be nice. I know if Helen were watching this, she would be so pleased to see all of you here and to see people having a pleasant time, eating well with much food cooked by her kids, and recognize that some of the capabilities they acquired came from her. But I know she would be really pleased to see all of you here, that so many of you came from so far to be with us. And that's a tribute in a sense to her as well. That recognizing and saying the part of our kids that would be what their mother would like.
Nice. Good. Got one up top? No. Fair enough.
Pass.
All right, no worries. All right. And if we have any time after he answers this, we'll open up to anybody else too. All right, Poppy. Now, do like I said, your Toastmaster skills and your improv skills, all right? We'll bring them to the top, all right? We want to bring the cream rises to the top. Now, for each one of your kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, What's the first word that comes to mind when you think of each one of them? So you have to go around and say the first word that comes to mind. Good, bad, and different. So the improv has to start now. All right, so you just have to go around and then you
I don't
name.
know who you pointed.
No, so you gotta start with like for Alan. So you say with Alan, brilliant. Just one word. Just one word. Or the first 3 words max.
Oh,
You have to go to each one of the kids, grandkids, and great grandkids.
capabilities.
All right.
Okay, nice. All right. Anya.
Success.
All right. Jerry.
Pride.
Mitch. Dad.
Do one word.
You get the 3. You get the 3 words. You got. You can go a little further.
That's true. I know. One word is very difficult, even though there's 9 minutes
Use
left.
more than one.
Yeah, you can use a couple words. Start from the heart.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. Excellent. Eliana. Ellen.
Nice going.
Okay. Karen.
Keep blossoming.
Uncle Stan.
Uncle Stan. Enjoyment.
And Sandy.
Thank you. That's what Sandy is part of my medical team. She and Jerry, and I have unique treatment and advice and help, and Sandy and Jerry have been very, very helpful in giving me guidance at the present time. And what more, I'm enlarging it.
Sure.
Sandy joined me in our great accomplishment of this year. Our great accomplishment of this year was Stanford putting handrails in the basketball pavilion.
Yes!
Yes.
Do anything!
It took 3 years of writing between Sandy and me to get them put in, and they are there. You would
And they gave you
We call
good
it-
feedback.
We call it the poppy handrails, all right? That's right. That's right. 2 minutes?
Getting Stanford to do something is really, you don't know unless you try.
Stuff.
But it really is very difficult. And every time I go to a game up in that basketball pavilion, you see loads and loads of people holding onto the handrails that go up the steps higher and higher and higher. And prior to the installation of the handrails, people would either not go to the games or hold on to a child or hold on to somebody's hand to do something. It was very, very difficult. And it's an aging population.
Sure.
And so all in all, that was where Sandy submitted. And so all in all, that was something that I benefited, let alone thousands of others.
Good for you guys. And then for wonderful Ocean.
Oh yeah. Ocean was wellness.
Wellness. Excellent. Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
That's wellness being better health, improved health, relief from pain and impositions of inconvenient equipment or whatever for the regain of more capabilities
Excellent.
with his body.
Nice.
Thanks, Bobby.
And then what about Uncle Kent?
Pardon?
Uncle Kent?
Uncle Ted?
Uncle Ken.
Uncle Ken! Most important thing from Uncle Ken is good health. good
Good.
health.
And I know they're not.
Nothing else, nothing, unless you don't have, good health is by far, as we know, the most
They're
important.
not here, but Nikita and Jess.
Yeah, so, yes, they're not here right now, but Makita?
Oh, Makita. Makita was well-being.
Well-being, okay. And what about Jasmine?
Jasmine. Good going.
Good comment.
No, no, Matthew.
Matthew, we need Matthew and Jesse, so Matthew,
Matthew.
Jesse, and
Elijah, we're done.
Finding yourself.
That's for who?
Matthew.
Matthew, and Jesse,
Jesse.